Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Mornings. Scone. Presented by Brock, the manager of the Clinic, Hoodco Roofing, hoodcoroofing.com. Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. I just opened Twitter and saw Mike Detillier tweeted that Pete Jenkins is rejoining the LSU coaching staff. Wow. I love Coach Pete, man. That's a good man. It's a great dude. 82 years old. Gonna go join the LSU coaching staff as an analyst to help with the defensive line. Wow. Awesome. They need all the help they can get right now. Wouldn't turn my back on any help if I can get it. All right. I need to text Coach Pete. All right, y'all. Saints lose 26-9. What a terrible weekend, man. LSU is the worst defensive performance ever, and the Saints can't score. Can we combine the two? LSU offense, Saints defense. First time the Saints allowed more than 20 points in what was that streak? 11 game, whatever. Who cares? Derek Carr threw the ball 37 times, 127 yards. 23 of 37 for 127. His average was 3.4 yards per attempt. Get outplayed at home by Baker Mayfield. Pitiful. Kamara played 11 carries, 51 yards. Kamara actually set a record for the fewest yards receiving with 13 catches in history. So he had 13 catches for 33 yards. It's the most receptions with the fewest yards, if that makes sense, if I'm saying it right. Offense is terrible. Derek Carr is not good. Pete Carmichael is way in over his head. We knew that a year ago, and we have confirmed it now. Dennis Allen is a substitute teacher, and nobody respects him. He's not a good football coach, and you can keep burying your head in the sand and pretending like it's not a problem, and you can keep losing. But now you're talking about a stretch where it felt like you had to get ahead because of what's to come. Because now you go to New England, which I know they've got their own issues. They benched Mac Jones this past weekend, but he's going to, remain the starter. And that's still Bill Belichick, who's the greatest coach ever, and you've got Dennis Allen. So you like New England this weekend. Then you go to Houston, which they got a quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Looks awesome. Then you got a short week at home against Jacksonville, and then you go on the road to Indy. You get the Bears at home, at Minnesota, at Atlanta, home against the Lions, home against the Panthers. I mean, we knew the middle of the schedule was the meat. And so you were going to have to make your headway at the beginning of the season. It looked like they had done that. winning their first 2 games, but they choke away a 17-0 lead in the fourth quarter against Green Bay, and they were completely hapless on Sunday. So, man, it's so disappointing, but it's not surprising. Baker Mayfield throws 3 touchdown passes. Derek Carr was ineffective. You know, you had a 7-3 ball game. You're up 3-0. It's 7-3. They're driving right before the end of the half, and you get the interception. And I think the Saints got hosed on the call. Isaac Yiadom makes the interception. They said he made the interception of the field of play, and his momentum carried him into the end zone, so they marked him down at the 1. I think it was a terrible call. But even still, then you decide to hand the ball to Adam Prentice, and he fumbles inside the 5. You give Tampa the ball right back, and instead of going to halftime down 7-3, you go to halftime down 14-3, and you just never got off the mat. So Saints are 2-2. And I don't think it looks any easier. So anyway, let's say some good morning, see what y'all got. And we'll get rolling here. Kelly Gross, good morning. Ryan Amanda Guidry, good morning. Steve Scott, Matt, not a good weekend of football at all. Such a depressing start to the week. Coffee, cheers to things getting better. It's so true, man. Your Monday mood so often is determined based on what happened. What happened over the weekend, and it was not a good weekend in these parts. Ryan Amanda Guidry, Pete, help us out. Michael Arthur, ouch, football hurts this morning. Craig Dugas, Saints are garbage. LSU is no defense. We're a basketball school now. What are you going to do when Macho McMahon and Mulkey Mania run wild on you? Okay. Brant Roban, Matt, I'm at a loss for words. How the heck is LSU getting worse on defense? So many easy plays for Dart. Man, Brant spent an hour and a half on Morning Scone yesterday and an hour and a half on Whiskey and Wine Saturday night talking about that very thing. I'm sure it'll be the topic of conversation today on AFR. I'm not sure how much more I can stomach, though. How's LSU getting worse? Well, it's a fair question, and I think it's a combination of everything. Number one, you don't have talent in your secondary. Number two, clearly you're playing undisciplined football in the front 7. You're not tackling. And number 3, your coaching staff isn't adequately explaining zone defense concepts, which is why you have so many coverage busts. So if it's not one, it's the other on any given play. Brad David, good morning. Tough weekend for Louisiana football. Louis Malhoit, good morning. Will Pete Jenkins make a big impact on the LSU defense? You know, I'll call Coach Pete today. I love Coach Pete. Y'all know that, man. He's I've known him for a while, and I've had him on the show a bunch. And you know, he came on the show this offseason. Honestly, you know, he was Coach Pete was close with Gerald Chapman. So if you remember, Jamar Cain left middle of spring ball to go to the Broncos. Gerald Chapman was promoted. Well, Coach Pete not only knew Gerald Chapman, but also Jimmy Lindsey. So, and of course, Jimmy Lindsey got, you know, had his medical episode in fall camp. And so maybe part of the reason there is to try to bring some continuity back, you know, as far as voice and how things are taught. But the thing about Coach Pete coming in is if he's an analyst, he can't coach on the field. Now, actually, let me correct that because I need to get clarification because they did change a rule where they did change the rule where analysts, like a certain number of analysts maybe can coach on the field. So I'll be very interested. And keep in mind, like some of the upperclassmen on this team, like, Mason Smith and like Coach Pete did work with some of these guys. So maybe there is some familiarity there with some of the upperclassmen. But I'll call Coach Pete and get specific, word on that. So, Devin Johnson, defense weak, soft, no dogs on the field. Find the Louisiana boys that want to eat off the floor like in years past. Rewatching the game, we were pathetic. No excuses to have figured this out. Lomaine, good morning. Jason Mabia, what a fun weekend of football. Spurge, good morning. Juan, the 90s are back in fashion, so I guess Louisiana football teams are just following the trend. Larry Garner, Bailey C. Did you losing out on those guys to Florida State signal a larger problem with the program not competing in NIL? Yes. Bailey C, that's something that I'm going to talk about today on AFR. Maybe this is careless or reckless. I don't care. I'm just going to say it. The numbers I was told that the Fisk, Coleman, and Fentrell Cypress, the three players in the portal that LSU wanted, that all went to Florida State. LSU offered, I think we all understand how NIL works, $100K, and Florida State tripled it. So I think what you're seeing right now, and here's, I'll make this point, but I'm going to tell you why it's maybe a positive for LSU. I'll tell you, or how it can be a positive for LSU. Look at historically relevant programs that have fallen on hard times who are desperate to win, and you'll see the investment. Florida State, Miami, Nebraska, Tennessee, Southern Cal, Texas. It's not a coincidence. Historically great programs had fallen on hard times. They went ham in the portal. Here was A&M's mistake. A&M spent a ton of NIL money. They spent it all on high school kids. That's not the ticket. Because you still got to get them in here, be patient, develop them. They might leave anyway, which we saw. The ticket is go ham in the portal. And those programs that have done that have gotten themselves back to relevancy very quickly. So that's the good news for LSU, is the path to fix this is there. I mean, you can do it this offseason. But you have to have the commitment. And here's the biggest problem LSU has. And I've tried to tell you all this for 2 years now, and not everybody wants to hear it or believe it. But I am more plugged in the NIL space than most. And I am telling you, this is not a guess, LSU can spin it however they want with the NILSU stuff. And you can look at Olivia Dunn and Angel Reese and Flaugier, and they're doing great. They individually are doing great. But those athletes, those young women would be doing great individually no matter where they were. It's a great coincidence and a benefit to LSU that they all happen to be at LSU. Now, obviously, winning the championship and all helped Angel Reese. I'm not denying that. What I mean is they're not making their money because they're at LSU and LSU boosters are paying them, is my point. What I'm telling you is LSU is dramatically behind in NIL fundraising. Dramatically. And Gordon can't do it all by himself. And LSU doesn't have those handful of billionaires like other schools do that they can go tap into. And I've said this for 2 years now, y'all. You keep shaking the same tree. $17 million to buy out Ed Ogeron, $100 million for Brian Kelly, $3 million a year for Kim Mulkey. You want to buy out Nikki Fargas. You want to buy out Paul Maneri. You want to hire Jay Johnson. And I get it, but it's expensive. And you keep shaking the same tree. Eventually, them leaves are going to stop falling. So you got to find new sources, or the collective fan base has got to step up. I mean this. I hope this doesn't come across in a defensive way, but just like Joe Fan, that isn't the millionaire, booster, keeps looking at the millionaire booster saying, do something. And my point is, for a school like LSU, it's probably got to be more of a collective effort of the 80,000 people that go to Tiger Stadium. If everybody had a $5 or $10 tax on your ticket and that went straight to the collective, that's the way to do it. I don't know if that's legal, but you could manage it however you want by means of accounting. But what do you want to be? What's your level of commitment? Brad David, do you think if LSU slows down on offense and plays ball control, that might help out their defense, or not make any difference? I mean, sure. I also think you're not going to give up 700 yards every week and 55 points. You're playing a really creative play caller in Lane Kiffin, who I think we all knew would give you trouble. I thought LSU would adjust, and the adjustments never came. But could you slow it down? Sure, but I think the recipe is what we said all along. Be good enough on defense and be elite on offense. The offense has held up its end of the bargain. Please smash that like button if you would. Subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Scone page. Share the post. Eric Wilderrider, turning on a Saints game feels like blackjack. The blackjack scene in Vegas Vacation when the dealer asked Griswold for half his money and just a kick in the... Caleb Kaiser, Kamara 13 catches, 34 yards is a joke. Yep. Claude Go Crazy, what's up? Eric, if you can only fire one guy, is it Carmichael or House? Carmichael, because I've seen Matt House be good before, and I think while Matt House is certainly an issue, I don't know that that's even debatable. We've seen him have success before. He had success last year, had a great year last year. Which is why it's so perplexing how it's fallen apart this year. Scott Lumine, what's more disappointing, LSU's offense or the Saints defense? Oh, LSU's defense or the Saints offense? LSU's defense. I expected this from the Saints offense. I've told you all that forever. Everyone wanted to hype the Saints team. 500 team, might win a bad division, be bounced in the first round of the playoffs, Derek Carr average quarterback. And I got crushed for it. I got crushed for saying that. You're a hater, you hate the Saints. Love Jameis. I've never said a word about Jameis. Within this whole context, I don't think Jameis would do any better. I think Jameis and Derek Carr are basically the same guy. Except if Derek Carr's hurt, at least Jameis could stretch the field. It don't matter. But Perkins for Heisman, more Matt. I don't care if you could see it on, I don't know if you could see it on TV, sorry. But being there live at the end of the game, Lacey was wide open in the middle of the field. And Kiffin called timeout. No, I didn't. Dalton Barnett, Matthias, is the damage done for Matt House? Crazy how one game can change someone's fate. Yeah, Dalton, I mean, unless if there is a dramatic about face defensively and you just see undeniable improvement to where everyone looks at this defense from this point forward and goes, okay, they've figured it out. I don't know how you survive this. Y'all know I'm not the fire the coach guy and all that stuff. I just don't know how, if you're Matt House, you survive it. Jesse Brown, never thought I'd see the day the Saints offense was terrible. It's at 11 straight games now they failed to score more than 21 points. Something like that. Crazy. Tier 1 Solutions, I wasn't even mad yesterday. Trivia Carter, Quandre, good morning. Tiger Diver, Matt Plavidal. Got bad news Friday. Second motor on my truck now failed. Same as first. Gonna get a rice burner for now. Robert Page, Derek Carr will be the worst signing in Saints history. I mean, you committed $150 million to him. We'll see what the off ramps are on the contract. But my point was at the time and remains, Derek Carr is not going to get you over the hump to where you want to go. So draft your franchise and see if you can hit. Look at Houston. Look at Houston with C.J. Stroud. He sure looks the part, doesn't he? And maybe a small sample, maybe or maybe doesn't. And maybe Bryce Young comes along and is awesome. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but there's one unequivocal truth is you're not winning in today's NFL without an elite quarterback. So we all know we've got a decade-long sample size of Derek Carr to know what he is. And a lot of y'all wanted to ignore that and say, yeah, we'll give him the weapons. And the point I made over and over, they got him the weapons. They went and got him Devontae Adams, his best friend and college teammate, who at the time was arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. He had Josh Jacobs at running back. He had Darren Waller at tight end. He had weapons with the Raiders. Don't tell me he didn't have weapons. He's what he is, man. He's a good quarterback. He's a mid-tier quarterback in the NFL. Let's see, why was he rushed back? Everything I told is pain tolerance. I mean, you heard Jen Hale in the pregame. You heard Nick Underhill's report last week. He made all the throws. If you can make all the throws and it's a pain tolerance thing, go play. Respect, seriously, respect to Derek Carr for going to play through that. But if he wasn't ready and was basically just a detriment to the team, then coaches should have stepped in. All right, y'all, 2 more minutes here. Kenneth Polk, good morning. Hey, Dad, good morning. Derek Cooper. We won't win anything with Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael. Both need to go. I agree. Said that last year. The Saints, they are just pot committed, man. This franchise is pot committed to trying to... I think the way I said it last week was they are living through the rearview mirror instead of through the windshield. They keep trying to get back to what was in the Peyton Breeze era instead of looking forward to what could be. They keep trying to find that magic unlock and shuffle the pieces on the board to make it like it was, and it's not going to be. Dennis Allen is not Sean Payton. Pete Carmichael is not Sean Payton. Derek Carr is not Drew Brees, and it's never going to be. Fernell got a question. What do you feel about Loomis going after Eric Bieniemy again? Fernell, that was my choice last year. And for whatever reason, I know Bieniemy has been passed over for head coaching jobs. And sometimes there's more than meets the eye when something like that happens. I don't know that to be true. I'm just speaking in generalities. But Bieniemy, I would love an offensive-minded head coach. He's a guy that, rode sidecar with Andy Reid and was calling the plays in Kansas City. And I would have been very much in favor of Eric Bieniemy. And maybe it wouldn't have worked. Most head coaches in the NFL fail. That's a job where you're hired to be fired. So I get it. But yes, that would have been my choice a year ago. I don't know if it still would be today. Let's find out at the end of the year. Reagan Lee, what do you think of the Pete Jenkins edition? I mean, I love Coach Pete. So he's just one of my favorite people. And he's a great defensive line coach. So at this point, my thought is, what could it hurt? I mean, could it be any worse? So, anyway, actually, as soon as we hang up here, I'm gonna shoot Coach Pete a text. Let me see if I can get. I don't know if he can come on the show today, but I'll see. I'll reach out to him. Okay. I gotta bounce, y'all. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. It's already 8:01. I gotta get going, get drove, and get him to school. So, y'all have an awesome day. Thanks so much for watching. Please smash that like button on YouTube. Subscribe up to the channel. And as I've been asking, I've got the HUDCO Google review link pinned. So, if you would just take a quick second, thanks to everyone who's done it already. But if you could take a quick second and just click that link, hit review, leave a 5-star Google review, I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. So, okay, thanks. Y'all have an awesome day. I'll get you an LSU Daily a little bit later this morning, and I got some meetings, but I'll get you an LSU Daily up this morning in AFR3. Peace.